Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we'll be talking about Betrayal, Deck of Lost Souls. But before we do, we just want to remind you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can see our videos as they come out. Okay, Betrayal, Deck of Lost Souls is designed by Bruce Glasgow, and it is published by Hasbro through Avalon Hill.
All right, there was a game called Betrayal, House on the Hill. This is a horror, haunted house themed game where you have explorers roaming around the house, finding all these crazy items, trying to defeat these omens and eventually escape. But there's going to be a good chance there's a traitor that's going to pop up as well. So within the lore of that game, this game, Betrayal, Deck of Lost Souls, is one of the items that you find and in that haunted house. And so now, you and your players have to play this game in order to escape from this deck that your souls are trapped in, or whatever the case is. So this is a cooperative game with a good chance of a traitor involved as well. You are trying to overcome these omens and eventually the final curse or curses in order to win. Let me give you a quick overview of how to play. Alright, here's our setup for Betrayal, Deck of Lost Souls. Over here we have our items, we have minor omens and major omens, and over here we have our curses. The curses are kind of the last stage of the game, but they're out there the entire time because we're going to be essentially voting on which one we think we can accomplish the most easily. Items are all good things we're going to be using to defeat everything else. Omens are calling kind of our challenges we have to defeat during the game. We have easy and medium, and at the very end, again, we have the hards over here. We're going to start off the hand of cards. We have 4 items, 3 minor omens, and 2 major omens. The minor omens have to be played first before the major omens get played, and it kind of gives us a chance to kind of build up our items, build up our strength before we have to face the tougher cards. So that's kind of how the game starts, but now we have to figure out who we are. You're going to get dealt a character. These character cards are face up. I don't know if you can see that well, but they have this really cool gold foil on them. In that gold foil, you can kind of see what the name of your character is, as well as what your character's symbol is. That's going to become important because only certain cards can be played by certain characters. Also, you notice it kind of, if you aren't looking at it in the exact right light, it's hard to read what some of these symbols are. You got to find just the right amount of glare to kind of identify what your title is and what your symbol is. But you randomly get one of those, it's going to get face up to you. But this is where it gets really interesting. We do have a traitor card, but then we have explorer cards. What you're going to do is you're going to have the amount of explorers as you have players plus 1 traitor. You're going to shuffle all these up, and you're randomly going to discard one of these cards. It might be an explorer, it might be a traitor. And then you're going to deal those 4 cards out to all the players. What's going to happen is everyone's going to reveal their card and figure out who they are without telling anyone. Now, there might be a traitor, there might not be. We're not going to know until later on in the game. Now, this game does play best at 4 players. When there's 3 players, there's kind of like an NPC character, which is kind of weird. And at 5 players, you have to kind of add in an extra character, which is also kind of changes the balance of the game. This plays best at 4, which is how I have it all set up right now. Every player is also going to get a player aid, which is going to describe to them what their different phases of their turns are going to look like, as well as on the back, it's going to give you a clear pictorial example of what all the different curses are and which ones you might want to vote for based off the items that you have in your hand. Alright, so the first part of the turn is the cooperation phase. During this phase, you have a couple different options. First of all, you can just take one of the items from your hand and you can reveal it in front of you. You're basically saying, hey, this is an item that I have, I'm able to use it, I'm going to be able to try to help as much as I can. Another option you have in your turn is you can give a card to another player. Maybe you want them to have it for various reasons, or maybe, I mentioned kind of earlier, that based off of what character you are, some cards can only be played by certain characters. So if this card is in your hand and you're not one of these symbols, you can't use this card. So maybe you kind of give it to someone else so they can kind of benefit from it and take on a card later on. The third option you have on your turn for the cooperation phase is you can draw an item card from the deck, and then you can take a different card from your hand, and you can discard it into the item discard pile, so that way you have the same number of cards, but you can kind of choose which ones you want to keep. If you have no item cards at the beginning of your turn, you can actually draw a card for your turn, and that's just your whole turn, is you just draw a card. So let's say on our turn, we had this card. This did not apply to us, so we gave it to one of our teammates, or someone we hope is our teammate. We gave it to them so that way they can get some usage out of it. But now it's time for the omen phase. What you're going to do is you're going to choose one of the minor omens in your hand, and you're going to play that in front of you. Remember, you also have major omens in your hand, but you're not going to play any major omens until all of the minor omens have been played. And in that way, you can kind of build things up and see what people have played, get an idea for who might be the traitor, that kind of thing. All right, so we're going to play this minor omen in front of us, and we are trying to accomplish it. There's a little symbol on the left over here. Unfortunately, they used a left kind of yellow color on the background of a yellow card, so you can hardly see what it is. It is in text down here as well, but again, it's kind of a weird script to read. In order to accomplish this particular thing, it says it needs a speaking trumpet. Well, shoot, we don't have a speaking trumpet in our hand, and we don't have any other face-up cards. What we can do now is we can kind of serve it up to our teammates. We can say, does anyone else have a speaking trumpet so we can accomplish this goal? Thankfully, one other player did have a speaking trumpet, and they're going to put it in front of them, lay that out in front of them, so that we can accomplish this goal. All right, on the bottom of the card there's two different symbols. The unlock symbol is the reward that happens if we're able to accomplish this. This one says, place this card next to either the 2 curse or the 4 curse, and it describes what they are. That's referring to these cards over here. And then it says at the bottom, if we had not been able to accomplish this, discard an item card in your hand or a revealed item in front of you. That's bad news. Items are really hard to get, and they're really great to have for all these different things. Luckily, we were able to accomplish this, so we're going to choose one of these curses over here that we think we're going to be able to accomplish, put this in front of it. Let's go with this number 4 one over here. This looks easy. All the curse cards are, in effect, balanced. However, they do require different items, and based off of what items are out in front of people, that's going to determine what we think is easier or harder to accomplish at the end of the game. And that's really the whole point. If there is a traitor in our midst, we're going to have to go up against the card that the traitor most likely thinks is the hardest one to accomplish. They're going to try to withhold cards from that particular curse, and they're going to vote for things that are going to be complicated for us to achieve. If there was no traitor in the mix, in that case, what we have to do is we have to accomplish 4 of these. But cooperatively, we have to kind of figure out which 4 of them they're going to be. One really important thing are the advanced items. At the bottom of this blue deck, there are some green cards. Those are the advanced items. So we want to make sure we draw a whole bunch of these in order to get to the cards that were going to be needed for a lot of these curses. So that's how the game's going to go. During the cooperative phase, we're either going to play an item, give an item, or draw a card from the item deck. And then we're going to play a minor omen. Once everyone has played all the minor omens, then we're going to start playing the major omens. These are the more complicated things. Also, when the major omens start being revealed, that's when we're going to be able to do more things like accuse someone of being a traitor. When you accuse someone of being a traitor, you have to announce it at the beginning of a turn where a major omen will be played, and then you have to have someone who seconds your opinion that that person is the traitor. That person who is accused then reveals their card. If they were in fact the traitor, that's going to be great. They're now kind of revealed as the traitor. They have to give up all their items to the other characters. But from here on out, they are going to be choosing which omens get played at what time, so they still are kind of involved. They're not just completely out of the game. However, if they were not a traitor, it was revealed that they were an explorer. The person who got accused, the person who accused them, and whoever seconded them all have to lose an item. That's a 3-item, swing. That's a big deal. So when you're doing your accusing, do it carefully. Once the major omens are in play, another thing that can happen is we can lose by way of running out of items. If any player ends their turn where a major omen was played without having an item either in front of them or in their hand, we lose the game. If that does not happen, then we go all the way to the end of the game where all major omens have been played. At that time, everyone reveals their cards to see who was a traitor, who was an explorer. If there was no traitor, in that case, we all get to cooperatively kind of ignore all the votes that are on the board over here, and instead just focus on which ones we think we can accomplish. But you do have to accomplish 4 of them. If there was a traitor, what they get to do is they get to use their card as a vote, place it on the board, and they want to vote for whatever they think is the most challenging, in which case that is the 1 true curse, and everyone else has to pool together to fight that 1 true curse. If the explorers cannot either finish the 1 true curse or the 4 curses they chose together, they will lose the game. But if they're able to pool the resources and defeat the curses, they're going to win the game.
At its core, like when you strip away the theme, this game is actually just an order fulfillment game.
This could have been about sandwiches.
What?
You need 1 lettuce, 1 pickle, and 2 slices of bread.
Oh my gosh. There's no meat in that. A pickle
That's
sandwich?
why it's a cursed sandwich.
Okay, but ignoring this pickle sandwich that Ryan is talking about, so you have these minor and major omens, and you have the main curse, and they all require certain things for you to get rid of.
Like pickles,
Oh
onion.
my gosh. Oh my gosh. No. So it's like once I was able to have that click after playing like a round or 2 and seeing the minor omens come out in the first round, I was like, oh my gosh, I understand what this game wants from me now. It just wants me and my teammates to do an order fulfillment, to see what this is and try to make that fulfillment happen. And it made the gameplay so much easier for me once I understood that.
We are big fans of tough cooperative games, we're really messed up in the brain that way. When we have like there's variable levels of difficulty, we like cranking up the dial to the hard stuff, knowing that it's going to be a low win percentage. So this game by itself, out of the gate, is pretty challenging.
Yeah.
But then there's other ways that you can add more difficulty to the game. There's extra cards you can add to the deck, which are essentially worthless. So there's a good chance of you drawing cards that don't do anything for you. So you can kind of up that difficulty that way. But then you add in the trader mechanism, where there's I don't know the probability, but like I'd say 75%, 80% chance. Is that how it works? 80% chance of there being a trader. The trader doesn't even have to work that hard because it's just hard enough as it is. So I like that tough work of having to figure all this out.
Yeah. There's like an Easter egg in the game that has nothing to do with the game, but it does have something to do with the game. When you open up this box and you look at all the cards, you're going to be like, there's something on my card. And guess what? There is. There's like, if you hold it just right, you see these runes on some of the cards. Well, come to find out, there is a way to get all those runes together. And there's a code on the box. So you can actually like...
It's like something to do with the box. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but...
We haven't figured it out completely, but there's like this game within a game. It's almost like an unlock game within my regular card game. Like, just has this little Easter egg, this hidden stuff. But I just want to let you know, you're not losing your mind. You actually are seeing extra things on the cards. Speaking
of losing your mind, games like this, to me, I tend to remove thematically. I tend to boil them down to their mechanisms, so that way I can kind of work behind the scenes and try to figure out the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Go to the symbols and that kind of stuff. So it's hard to get me involved thematically in a game like this. But I think the artists and the creators of this game did a great job of making some really surreal, intense, horror-themed art. Now, I'm not a fan of that, the horror-themed art. It gives me the willies. But the point is, they did a great job of trying to immerse you in that world, in that haunted house, in this deck of this haunted deck of cards. Very unnerving art, very unsettling, very leaning to that horror. So that way, the thematic touches of this really shine through. And the art is incredible. It's got this gold foil behind it. The hidden runes, if you're kind of peeking for that as well. So some incredible touches from an art standpoint that kind of helped, get me involved in the theme. That being said, because the card art was so strong, it made the symbols, which are, as Bethany said, the game, the big part of the game, very hard to read for me. They kind of blended in with the backgrounds. I would prefer, like a lot of games do, have the top half of the card be the art and the bottom half be the symbols, but they had a full card art, which is really nice, really gorgeous, but then the symbols kind of tucked in and very hard for me to distinguish at first glance.
Yeah, the icons were even difficult. Every person was a different character, and there's an icon that represented you. But the icons were so, like, ethereal, it was kind of hard to figure out who was who, even though...
It wasn't like squares, triangles.
Yes.
It was like some weird scene or something.
Yes, and we realized, not right away, which we should have, but we realized later that there's, like, a color combo as well. But there's even a few cards that had, like, there was a card that was green. It was really obvious. You saw green, it was that character. But then there was like a red and an orange, or a brown and a red, and it kind of like blended together, and it was hard to tell that. So the iconography just needed to be really clear, like clearer. Like, don't have fun with the icons. Have fun with the art. Don't have fun with the icons. Just let me understand. And also, this is not anything on the game. It's just how we play. We needed to... we couldn't play this 2 players, so we invited our girls to play with us, and they are 7 and 11, and they were not fans of the artwork. It was not pleasing to them. They were not fans. They complained about things. Even sometimes they would trade cards, even though it wasn't advantageous to them, because they just didn't want to look at them anymore. And like I said, that's not something on the game. It's not advertised for 7-year-olds, right? So that's like, don't knock that. But if you do play a lot of games with your family, I would avoid playing this one with school-age kids. I would just skip it altogether and maybe only go to like high schoolers if you're doing that. It didn't stick with them, luckily. They didn't bring it up again. After they played, it was done. It wasn't like it haunted them or anything, but while we were playing, they weren't a fan. And like Ryan said, the artwork did just like blend together, and they spent so much time on this beautiful artwork, and I felt like they needed to spend just a little bit more time on strategic graphic design for a player's perspective. Not what do you think is cool, but what's going to help a player play the game.
Yeah. So overall, this is in that kind of social deduction world of games, that kind of genre of games, we call it a cooperative game with a traitor mechanism, a potential traitor mechanism, kind of like Dead of Winter, something like that. So I think this is a great, fantastic nod to the source material of Betrayal and House of the Hill. If you're a fan of that game, I would definitely check out this game. I think that you're going to get a huge kick out of it, and you could make a night of it. We're talking about, like, you could play a game of Betrayal, and then after you're done, someone, found this while they were in there, and they come back and they play this game afterwards, and your souls get sucked into this game now. It's like, come on, man. Our souls keep on getting sucked into places.
Yeah, well, don't go into haunted houses, obviously.
Yeah, so I think that's, fans of the source material, fans of the original game are going to get a huge kick out of this. If you like those kind of social deduction games, I think you're going to enjoy this as well. There are other games in this genre that I would choose first, but that being said, this is a fun game.
Yeah. It was a good game, but I had to get past the artwork, which is so weird. Like, I had to get past the artwork to play the game, but once I was...
It's too thematic.
Once I was able to get past that and get just into the mechanisms of the game, there was a pretty solid game underneath that as well. So it was a good game, and it played well. It just took some time to get to that point in order to play the game the way the game is intended. Everybody, thank you so much for watching it. Don't forget to find us in all of these places, and until next time,
bye guys.
Bye.
You guys, thanks so much for watching. This game was provided to us by a publisher in exchange for a fair and honest review.
And if you want to see more stuff, check out over here to see something we think you might like.
And over here, we think that YouTube has picked out a great video for you you're going to love. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.